Some things just go together. Wine and cheese, flowers in springtime, and yes, books and bottles. We pair your favorite author with your favorite drink. Your host of Books and Bottles, Benita Johnson.
Hi, welcome to Books and Bottles. I'm your host, Benita Johnson. We are back with another wonderful episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before I forget, let me remind you to please share. So today, this is our show that we pair your favorite author with your favorite wine or spirit. And tonight, we're going to introduce you to a new favorite author of ours and a very important author. Right now, we're seeing all of these folks congratulating their kids and nieces and nephews about getting into college. And so we have, that's great, right? But then we have to pay for it. So today we have with us Mr. Trae Johnson, and the name of his book is How to Climb the Mountain of Financial Aid. So welcome to the show, Trae.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am honored to be on your show, so I'm feeling good like James Brown, ready to do the split.
Honor. See, I'm going to put that word down, to our production team. Some folks are honored to be here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. How to Climb the Mountain of Financial Aid. So this is one of those books that, it's a tough subject, but it's a necessary subject, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So why did you, what's your background? How did you get into wanting to tell folks about financial aid?
Sure. So for my background, I have 11 years in financial aid experience.
Okay.
So I've done student for for-profit and in-state. And I process files. I've told students that unfortunately they couldn't go into college because they're in default. I even had to break stuff down to students because, college is a business. If you don't have the money, you won't be able to attend college. So, and it was so funny that I was talking with a faculty member and helped her with a problem with her student. And I kind of made a joke like, you know what? I'm just going to write a book about financial aid, the do's and don'ts, and just see what people think. And she was like, do it. I'm like, okay. So I went ahead and wrote it and kind of thought of all the major issues that, students and parents may have, and made a simple, easy read that you can just read and be like, dang. And so
absolutely. I gotta give you kudos on making it a simple read because, first when I'm thinking about financial aid, I'm thinking of the challenging FAFSA forms and, jumping through some hoops with your financial aid offices. But what I like about your book, you kind of made it, you gave us stories. You shared some of the experiences that you've witnessed and you've been a part of in your journey as a financial aid officer.
Yes, ma'am. And see, one of my goals when I wrote the book is that I wanted to make it an easy read because I don't want you to read my book and then all of a sudden you have to pull up a dictionary or Google it. I want something simple because dealing with financial aid is complicated because you talk about money, finances, and loans. And a lot of us don't have experience or understand about loans and fees and so forth. So I want to make it easy for you, simple, enjoyable, and keep it real. Like I had a faculty told me that, you got to add a little flavor to it. You want to be professional, but add a little Kendrick Lamar to it. And I'm like, okay.
I like that reference.
Yes. And this was coming from an older Caucasian lady. And I'm just like, whoa, you know about Kendrick Lamar? But
you know about Kendrick.
I understand her point. So I want to do something that's enjoyable and simple and it's a roadmap. So you can start middle school, in high school, read my book and having an understanding about college because it's business.
You'll know what to expect because I think sometimes we, like I said, we get caught up. I'm gonna just use myself as an example. My father, he went to college for a couple years, but he went for 2 years because that's all he could pay for. And so when I got into college and I got the acceptance letter, I didn't know. I was like, okay, what's next? So walk us through the process. I've been accepted. What do we do next?
Okay, well, a couple of things. You've been accepted. What school you want to go to? Because that depends on how much money is going to be spent. If you go to a private school, that means everything's going to be double for a regular price. Then
Okay.
you look for room and board. That's a whole nother price. You got to eat, right? So you got to look at all the things as a cost. If you go to, like, say, a community college in your state, typically you're an in-state student, the fees are not expensive, and you should be able to take care of everything through your Pell Grant. And then
So explain to those of us who don't know, what's the Pell Grant?
the Pell Grant is the free money. You don't have to pay back Pell Grant. Anything that has grant on it at the end, you'll love it.
It's free.
It's free.
Okay. Okay. So I read a part in your book, and this happened to a student, and he or she lost their Pell Grant. So they ended up having to pay the Pell Grant back.
Yes.
And that was because that person did not disclose that they already had a bachelor's degree. So the Pell Grant is only for undergrad study?
Yes. It's only for undergraduate studies. And so when you complete the FAFSA, it asks, do you have a bachelor's degree? Regardless if it's from another country or the United States. And if we found out that you did, and we gave you the FAFSA by mistake, we can take it back. And then all of a sudden you looking at me crazy, like, why do I owe $2,000?
Excuse me. So
You good? That's the same thing what the student did when I told him about that money. They started checking the office. And he almost started calling Elizabeth like Fred Sanford. Elizabeth, they trying to take all my money.
I can imagine, because that's probably how I would feel too. So just to be clear, if you are going to school to achieve a graduate degree beyond the bachelor's, you can still use the FAFSA, but you just won't get a Pell Grant.
Exactly.
At that point, it's loans, right?
Yes, everything is really loans. It's if you're eligible, because all students are not eligible for a Pell Grant, because it's definitely based by unmet needs and your tax information. But once you graduate from college, you can waive the Pell Grant goodbye. Everything could be loans. So that's why I always encourage students to talk with your parents as far as their jobs, like if their jobs give out scholarships, your insurance agency, if they give out scholarships. There are different organizations like fraternities and sororities that give scholarships. And a lot of times they be begging people for this money to apply, and a lot of times people don't apply. So there's so much money out there, you just got to do the research.
Okay, so how do you, all right, so once we filled out this FAFSA, or we were accepted in college, we fill out the FAFSA, what happens next?
Okay, so what happened next is that once you fill out the FAFSA, it normally takes 3 or 5 business days till the school receives the information. So once we receive the information, we can see what's the next step in regards to if you get selected for verification, because it could be an error or something could be misleading or it's questionable.
Okay.
Because as a university, we receive Title IV funding. So we get audited. So we want to make sure, everything is on point. So once we kind of review your FAFSA, if you were selected for verification, we're going to ask for some documents. But if you're not, we can move forward and processing your file. We review your status, your class, because it depends on if you're a freshman or a junior. It depends on as far as your loan amount that you may be able to receive. And then after that, we can put your award out there. But before we can officially put your award out there, you have to be an officially admitted student in the school.
Okay.
So you got to make sure your admissions is handled as well.
So you're saying that, like, if let's say I apply to 3 schools, I can complete my FAFSA before I get my acceptance letters?
You can.
Oh.
You can up to 10 schools as far as the FAFSA that you can apply for.
Okay.
It just you want financial aid, they're only paying for 1 school.
Right. Okay. Let's see, I had a different. So FAFSA, we apply online. So I'm gonna date myself. Back when I was filling out a FAFSA, it was paper. So
you could do paper now, but it's quicker. You do online, but yeah, they got some paper, but no. So
okay. So what would you suggest to families? Like, is it ever too early to start planning for the financial aid process?
No, it's never too early to plan for your financial future. When your child is born, technically you should be planning him or her financial future, putting down seed money because eventually they're going to graduate from high school. What's going to be the next step? So if you want them to go to college, you need to put something on the side for them to go to school. Because again, you don't know what school they may want to go. A private, HBCU, community college. There's a variety of different colleges. It's just the price and the money. Especially if they go out of state, that's going to be an additional cost as well. So you just want to make sure that you prepare yourself financially. And even if you might not do financially, think smart as far as what you want to do. For example, if you might not have all the money, start with a community college first.
That's a great idea. And I think sometimes we discount, community colleges, but for the most part, you could go there and you could get a whole lot of your requirements out of the way,
exactly,
for a lower cost, and then move on to, a 4-year university to finish your degree.
You can. You are 300% correct. It's a whole lot easier, and it won't hurt your pocket too much. And then at least at that time, you may be able to save up or work on different scholarship money to help you out. So you do well in your community college, you can apply for a scholarship and different other things for you to move forward to whatever college you go to. And another thing that I've seen before that a lot of people don't realize that hurting them is that before you go to college, know what direction you want to go to in regards to your major. Let's say, for example, if I want to be a school teacher, and no disrespect for no school teachers,
right?
But let's say the average salary is $35,000 when I graduate. But I go to a school that after my 4 years, I'm in $100,000 in debt.
Right.
If you do the math, that's not going to work out. You already in the hole beforehand.
Absolutely.
So you want to be a teacher, you might want to look to a school that's going to be, knowing the cost and knowing the major. You can at least go to a school that's not going to be as much that can help you out, because a lot of times we put our own self in debt because again, everything's a business,
right?
And you need to treat yourself as a business and as a brand when it's comes to financial aid, money that you have to spend, the costs you need to attend to, and so forth. Everything's a business.
I thought about when my daughter was going to college. One of the requirements that I and her father had for undergrad was that it had to be in-state and public, just because of price. We could afford it. She, if she chose something else, she would have walked away with loans. But it was also because we knew she was going to go to grad school. So it's like, I'm gonna pay for this one, and you pay. Grad school is on you, because I had 2 other children, and I think sometimes we as parents, we are uncomfortable having those conversations, those real conversations with our kids, and just talk about what's realistic. Because you make a great point. I live in Virginia, and if my son or daughter wanted to be a school teacher, it makes no sense for them to go to Stanford.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If you want to be a doctor or lawyer, go to Stanford. It's network, relationship. You get your money back. But just a teacher or just a field that doesn't make as much income. I mean, right now, this day and age, we can Google stuff. And I know, look, you talk about dating your age, dating my age. I remember the card catalog, so we didn't have opportunities like that.
And doing decimal system.
Look, the floppy disk that you have to kind of flop it and then put it on. I think we was the prototype student, so this was before AOL, everything else. So we had to kind of get used to what the internet is and stuff like that.
That's right. Now, did you use a typewriter or did you use a word processor?
Oh, I did it all. I did and had to do it my own stuff. Feel like I would dance when I kept pushing back. Yeah. Thank God for technology. Yeah.
I know, right? Because I was going through this correction tape.
Yes.
All right. So tell us some of let's start with one. Then we're gonna bring on our wine person. But one of your interesting stories that you heard from students, who were just unaware of their financial aid issues.
Well, I've had students that come to my office and ask me, "Why I don't have financial aid? Why I would drop out of class?" And then my response is, "Have you checked your grades?" No. Okay. Have you checked your email? No. Okay. Well, your financial aid has been denied because poor performances. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you made straight F since you started school.
So loans can be denied too if you make less than whatever the acceptable GPA is.
Exactly. Well, if you want a loan, typically you have to be a half-time student, which is minimum of 6 credit hours for most colleges.
Okay.
And if your financial aid is denied, you can't receive any type of federal monies, Title IV funding to assist you. You need to either pay out of pocket or look for a private loan.
Okay. That's some good information to know. So we hope our viewers are taking this all in, and I'm going to encourage them to get the book. I'm holding up so they can see.
Yes,
all right. So we're going to bring on our wine expert today. She's back with us from Georgia, Miss Candace Walker of the Library. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Good to see you again.
You too. Thanks for having me again.
You taking in all this good information about financial aid. I don't know if you have any young people.
I have a ton of mentees and nieces and nephews and adopted little babies. So yeah, no, this is definitely good information. It really brought back to me, like, I was fortunate to have a lot of scholarships, so I didn't have to take out any loans, and I can see how it has positively affected just my trajectory in life. So this is great information, updated information for people to have and to utilize. So I'm definitely taking it in.
I appreciate it. And trust me, how some parents are dealing with these students. Like I had one recently that lied to her daddy about, she being in school, but she really was kicked out because of grades. And he was Jamaican. And so he started saying some stuff. And she didn't look too happy. And so she did the moonwalk really quick out my office. So I think he might need to find you and be like, I just need me some wine, I need some chill, some candles, some bubble bath, and some Jesus. Yeah, add some Jesus to the mix and all that. Yeah,
exactly. That's right. That's
Hallelujah.
Right. So tell us about the library.
Well, it's a wine and book bar in Stone Mountain Village, right on the main street, and it really is a space for people to come and to relax. Be able to purchase books, just peruse some books. We have wine that you can just have by the glass or the bottle. It's just a really nice atmosphere for people to come and kind of get away from the hectic day to day.
Awesome. So what are we drinking tonight?
Tonight I have a little rosé all day prosecco. Like I would keep it bubbly and light. So
I think that's perfect. We're talking about financial aid, therefore we're celebrating young people being admitted into colleges, hopefully the ones of their choices. So sparkling is perfect.
Yes.
So we're gonna cheers to them. I'm drinking cab, but we're cheering to the students.
Cheers.
So hang out with us as Trae and I continue this conversation about how to climb the mountain of financial aid. All right, so Trae, tell us another horror story.
Oh man, I got so many stories. It's some stuff you might not believe, but I say this to the students. If you're going through some issues or situations, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Be honest with your parents. Most parents, I'm not going to say all of them, but most parents want the best for you. So when you lie and try to be slick, then that's not a good situation.
So really they lose the monies due to poor performance, not attending, whether that's not attending or grades. So they lose this money. Mm-hmm. So let me ask a question.
Sure.
Are there any financial aid dollars for trade programs? Because
it is.
Oh, okay.
Well, I say it like this. Of course, when you go to college, do the FAFSA. Of course, you do the FAFSA. Most colleges will accept that. Okay. But then there's also there's a lot of opportunity for trades, like a lot of scholarship stuff. Of course, a lot of times you have to research, and then a lot of times students are be scared to talk to the professors or the dean of their departments and be like, hey, if there's a scholarship or there's any opportunities to to get a scholarship to a certain field. And there's money out there. You just have to research. Like, for example, there's I had a student that told me that she won a scholarship for nursing, being a single parent African American student.
Okay.
So it's so much. It just you just got to research and get that money.
Okay. Now, I know you may not know this right off, but are there any databases that you can suggest that parents look at or even students look at to find the grants and scholarships?
Well, the first thing I always say is look at your school. I know the current university I work with, they have a scholarship department. So that'll be the first place I look for.
Okay.
Number two, if a student is serious about a scholarship and they already enrolled, then make sure you have at least a 3.0 or 4.0. If you got a 1.0 and you're not doing good, that's kind of like defeating the purpose of giving you money and you're not doing well in school.
Right.
And I wish I was making a joke, but it's like...
I'm sure that's true, though. A lot of folks lose it because of academics. And
yeah, a lot of academics, and then a lot of people take on too much responsibility. Like, I respect you want to go to college to get an education, but you don't have to take 12 or 16 credit hours. If with all your responsibility from family, friends, kids, your job, a full-time job that you might have to do 40 plus hours a week, you might want to scale back on school and maybe take one or two classes and stop worrying about you have to hurry up and graduate.
So let me ask you this question with loans or even Pell Grants. Okay, so if the minimum, you said they must be enrolled a minimum of 6
credit hours. Yes.
So if, let's say, I rocked it out, 9 credit hours every semester. It doesn't, my opportunities for grants does not expire in 4 years. It expires when I get that paper, right?
Technically, this is how it goes, because it's two parts for that question. One, if you go to college straight through, you graduate, that's the end as far as your Pell Grant.
Right.
However, you have some students who like to stay in school for quite a while.
Okay.
And so, estimated time for the Pell Grant expiration is 600%, which equates to 6 years.
Oh, okay.
So there is a timeline for a Pell Grant. You can't just be in school for 20 years thinking you're going to still get that Pell Grant. It's like, nah.
Okay.
We call those forever students. Like, they're forever students, won't graduate, but then want to take advantage on their taxes. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, listen, we've been in adulthood for a while. It ain't that much fun sometimes. So sometimes I want to go back to those days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for real. Being an adult ain't the same. Yeah.
It's no fun. So where's the calculation of how much is needed for
the calculation is typically that once you apply for the FAFSA, the school will receive the information, because again, it's based off your tax information. So let's say right now, all students can apply for the FAFSA for this upcoming fall now. They can go on to studentaid.gov. They complete a 2022-2023 FAFSA. All FAFSAs now is available since October the 1st. Go ahead and get that taken care of now. Okay. And so it's based off prior year, which means 2 years ahead, which 2 years ahead right now is 2020 year. So that's what it's going to be based off of. And of course, 2020 year, of course, with COVID and a whole lot of situations. So you do your FAFSA, and then we can determine as far as how much Pell eligibility or loan eligibility that you may receive. And something that a lot of people might not be aware of, which I got it in my book, but I'll share this with you and your audience, is that let's say in 2020 you was making, let's say, $100,000 a year. You was balling, you was enjoying yourself. COVID happened, you lose your job, you're not making the same income, you may not be working, or you might have a job that's making $20,000 a year and you got 1 or 2 kids, for example. So once you we process your file, we can see that what you made then, and we're going off of it, you might not be eligible for a Pell Grant. just because as far as the income. However, what you can do is you can ask the school for a professional judgment and let them know that you want to do an appeal because the income that you were making, you're not making it now.
Okay.
Which then the school will give you a document, or a lot of things are done online that you can fill out, apply, and then once you bring in the necessary documents, and we can see that there is some differences as far as your income and so forth, the school could do a professional judgment and make a change, and then you may be eligible for the Pell Grant.
Okay.
Possibly the full Pell.
So don't just walk away when you get rejected. Call somebody, because there is a human behind this who can listen to your circumstance and walk you through. I got one more question for you. Sure. So sometimes there are students who graduate high school, and of course their parents have been carrying them on their taxes, but then the parent does not want to be responsible for school. So how are these students able to apply for FAFSA and as independent, even though the 2 years of tax returns, they were on their parents' tax return? Because that's going to impact them. Because, if the parents, like my roommate in college, her stepfather made a ton of money. He lived in Chicago, so I guess they make a lot of money out there. Mm-hmm. And so he
with fur coats and all that, hats all that stuff. Yeah, it is kind of cold in Chicago. Yeah.
So he didn't want to pay for her.
Understand.
To go to school, but it impacted the financial aid because she was on the tax return.
Taxes, exactly.
So how do you overcome that? Is that one of the situations that you could call and they say, you let them know?
Unfortunately, that type of situation you can't. Unless you get married, you in the military and active duty and service per the president, or if your parents are deceased, or if you award the court.
So basically, because you don't want to pay for her, she is not eligible for a Pell Grant. Will she be able to apply for a loan then?
Exactly. No, she will be eligible for a loan.
Okay.
A lot of times we have parents that kind of in that situation that they'll do the FAFSA, but they don't want to financially be responsible for them.
Right.
For the school, the main thing we want to do is, if you can do the FAFSA, do your information. Worst case scenario, you'll be eligible for just loans.
Okay.
You don't have to be responsible for the loans. It will still be under the student as far as they take the loans out.
All right.
The only time that the parents can be responsible for if it's a plus loan. So a parent loan for undergraduate students. So they can be responsible for that. It's credit based. So if they run it, your credit is good, you want to take the responsibility for it, then you can. However, if it's the decline, then the student can get an additional $2,500 of unsubsidized loan money. And unsubsidized loan money means it's the loan that has interest. So the student or the child be responsible for the interest.
Okay, and does that piece of the loan, is it deferred up to graduation, or do they have to start paying that back almost immediately?
No, once you graduate, or if some people leave school, they do a 6 months grace period that you don't have to make no type of payment at all. However, around the 5th month, they might send notice to you or your references, because you got to complete that, which you do that. You got to do that, and once you complete that, then they'll send you some information for payment, some payment plan options, and what you can do to begin paying your loans.
Okay. All right. So let me hold up the book again. How to Climb the Mountain of Financial Aid. Trae, I want to thank you so much for being on our show. The information was great, and I hope our viewers could, just share it, because there's somebody out there, there's families out there now who don't know how this thing is going to get paid for.
Oh, I understand. I see it all the time. So everything's a business. So you definitely want to make sure that you have the resources, the finance, and talk to financial aid officers, talk to the schools, and seeing what are some of the best ways that you can take care of this situation as far as your finance.
And how can people get the book?
Sure. They can go on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles. You can go on to my website, www.traejohnson.com, TRAE Johnson.com.
Okay.
You can check it out there. Email me and scroll down the website. You can see my email, see all my information. You can go ahead and get the book. If you want an autograph, just contact me. But you just
let me make sure my book is signed, because you did.
I believe I signed your book. You know,
I just want to make sure before you offering all these autographs and mine don't have it. So
I made sure you got yours. That's why I was kind of. Well, I pulled my hair out or my little studs to like, where's the post office? You know, mine was looking like Candace, but then since the post office was like taking forever, I'm just like, and all of a sudden, here I am now.
That's what happened. I hear you. And Candace, thank you so much for coming back. Let us know, how do we contact the library?
Yes,
how do we get there?
It's thevibrary.co. Our Instagram is _thevibrary, and our Facebook is the Vibrary Wine and Book Bar. And you can reach us in any of those three.
I will be sure to follow. And to our viewers, thank you again for tuning in. Be sure to share. If you are an author and you like to be on Books and Bottles, please hit us up at info@grose.com. We look forward to having you. Until next week, cheers.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.